Hi everybody, I'm Stacy with Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life. I am here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. So today our topic is going to be he or she loves me. They love me not. So we're going to look at that. What? So if you like that that's our topic today, please hit the like and subscribe button below. So let's get started. But before we get started, again, I want to thank you all who have subscribed to this channel and who have commented and let me know that these videos have indeed helped you and that you related to them. Thank you. I appreciate that. And also a disclaimer to tell you what I am and what I am not. And first off, I am not a love expert. I'm just like the rest of you, learning as I go. What I am is a life coach. So please look down below. I hope to help you connect with your soul. So let's get into the topic today before I get too silly, okay? So we're going to talk about he or she loves me not. Do they love us or love us not? First off, a lot of people may say that if you're asking that question, the answer would be no. But we're going to explore the possibilities because what? I'm here to help you organize your thoughts and decorate your perspectives. Now, when we say he or she, when we say he or she loves me not, we're what? We're trying to figure out if they do. It's nice if they tell us, but it's, oftentimes people tell us things, but their actions don't follow up with it. And oftentimes people act things, but their words don't say that. So that's might be one reason we ask that question. Do they love me or love me not? So really, it's about loving ourselves enough to make choices that are aligning with what we hope is love. So just to clear a few things up, to give us those thoughts and perspectives of the percentages, and I don't really know the factual percentages. I'm going to talk about my own experience percentages. It's like when we go on 1 or 2 dates with somebody, I don't think that that's love. I think that people can grow to love each other maybe as friends before those first 2 dates. And so it may get a little head start. So this isn't one video that's going to tell you all the surefire ways or what, but I'll lead to something in the end. I always do. So please stick around. So 1 or 2 dates, I don't think it's valid to ask the question, do they love us or love us not, even if we get all excited. As I've spoke before in other videos, I usually suggest to my clients, to give 3 months, or even girlfriends, give 3 months, before we actually get too invested, because it's after that that the infatuation starts wearing off and we really get to know a person and these little quirky things. And sometimes they're deal breakers and sometimes they're not. Sometimes the newness and the boredom wears off and we really get to see whether the person's going to stick around or not. In the male videos that I have watched, or, in the male perspectives, Matt Hassey, and there's some others, if you have any questions, just email me or ask in the comments below, because I like to get male perspectives too and kind of generate the ideas from that. They say that typically a guy knows if he's into a woman or not by, 3 months. As well. So if they've stuck around after 3 months or they start lingering off. Now that's not a surefire way either, because you could be invested for 6 months. But at 3 months, we know and they know kind of. We've started these behaviors by then. And sometimes we just compromise ourselves and accept things that maybe we would not have ordinarily accepted. A lot of that has to do with whether we sleep with this person or not. Sometimes we get invested by the fact that we slept with that person, and as I've stated in another video, then maybe we might be willing to accept things and to linger into that relationship out of fear of guilt or anything else, So it's just best if we wait and see how connected we really are to people rather than going off of that physical attraction. I know many females think that they can do, like, say, they think males can, and I don't know if this is true or not because I'm not a male, but a lot of females say, well, you got to be like a guy, and just be able to sleep with people. And there are guys that just can do that, but I don't think all guys can do that. And so, it's just getting to know. I mean, why wouldn't you get to know who you're going to sleep with? So it's really about loving ourselves, and I'm going to talk about the CPTSD before I talk about loving ourselves, as I've talked about that in the limerence here lately, because I'm learning more about that myself, is in looking at the patterns of the older relationships. So let's look at those. Who are you choosing that you have the first, second date with that you love, or the 3 months that you think you love, or the 6 months that you think you love, 9 months, so on? Who is it? How did you end up in that? When I look at the patterns back of my last relationships, or those that I really invested in, and they were good people. It's not to say they were bad people. I look at this, but what I've seen is this pattern. And so we have to set boundaries with ourselves and set boundaries with others if we want to be treated the way we want to be treated. And we need to get clear about how we want to be treated and realistic about how we want to be treated, because we all have errors and flaws. But what is the deal breaker and what's not a deal breaker? And so actually, for some of us, we want monogamous relationships. We want relationships where people are loyal. So if someone's not loyal, then that's pretty much a deal breaker. And I'm not saying that in all cases. Maybe someone's unloyal once, to me, deep in my heart. Now, I don't know if it's right or wrong. It could be that limerence still lingering along. But sometimes if they screw up once, it can be forgiven and worked out, maybe through professional counseling. It has to be worked out in some way. You can't just take each other back because there's something wrong there, and it's going to happen again and again and again, I feel. I think that it has to be dealt with. It can't just be shoved under the carpet and it's okay. But in this limerence, we tolerate and accept way more than we think we would. But in looking at our part, like for me, what I look at is the last relationship. Okay, that person was just out of a relationship. They hadn't done the healing work yet. The relationship before that. Well, was doing healing work, and I didn't finish my healing work. The relationship before that, that person wasn't even divorced yet. The relationship before that, so what does this tell me that I'm doing? I am choosing unavailable people, or people who haven't yet dealt with their pain. So what does this tell me about myself? This tells me that I'm carrying my baggage into that relationship too, because I'm not dealing with my stuff. I'm not dealing with those things, even though I may have healed parts of those things. I'm not saying that it's total, because I'm not telling you that if you've worked on yourself that you haven't, because I certainly spent time working on myself. But there comes a time when something's repeated and we really get hurt, and we look at, this happened and this happened and this happened, and these people weren't healed, and that means what? I'm not healed either. So we have to do the healing work. We can or cannot. We can keep getting our heart broke and then swear off of love like many people do, but I don't think that's what we were put on this earth to do, right? So it's always a healing process. The thing in limerence, when we talk about healing, is a lot of people, I don't know if I mentioned this in last week's video or not, but we'll say it's our twin flame or our soulmate, and so we keep getting hurt by the same person over and over again. Now, like I talked about that cheating thing, the one time somebody's just unloyal is as if they're showing a track record of this one behavior. If they broke up with you, and this has happened to me before, is if they break up with you and they don't even tell you why sometimes, or they break up and then you just get back together and it's not discussed about why the thing happened anyway. Which it comes down to is that it's that person is non-committal, But if you keep going back and forth, and I did it probably 5 times with that particular person, going back and forth, and nothing's ever, the same thing keeps happening. But what did happen during that time of back and forth with that particular person was every time we broke up, maybe he bounced to another relationship, but what I do is I work on myself. So that's important for us, is to work on ourselves, because that's where we get stronger, and that's actually where, when we've been cheated on, we develop our trust muscles, because the trust has to come from within ourselves, because if we trusted ourselves, we wouldn't keep bouncing back and forth in this relationship and making excuses. I know for me at that time was that I had these kids, and so I would make that rationalization and justification like I talked about in last week's videos. Maybe you do this too, is that, well, I have these kids and they're my main priority. So really this relationship, if they treat me kind of shitty, and I really don't know what's going on and it's fragmented, then, well, I've got my kids. But our kids don't need to be our caretakers. We can't rely on our kids. And I didn't, because I did go through the codependency. I did go through love and logic. I'm always seeking and learning. I'm not saying that everybody should or everybody does. But I'm just saying if we want to improve what's hurting us, we might want to take a look at that. So when we look at the limerence, maybe we saw our parents do this. I know for me, I did. I would see my dad have, multiple, cheating things going on in their relationship. My mom being upset about it. And so maybe that's why I'm saying, well, maybe once it's okay. And maybe it's not okay once. I know for now I'm not in a relationship. I'm really pondering this stuff myself as I share it with you. Because I don't know who could tell you that they're a perfect relationship person. I mean, somebody who's been married maybe, like my life coach, she was married for 58 years. God bless her husband's soul. He just passed, but she was married as long as I've been alive, and so 58 years. Wow. So she's a good person that I could maybe take relationship advice from, who could validate, what I'm feeling or not feeling. So let's go to insecurity, because insecurity is what is in limerence. And so why would we want to just claim to be insecure and not want to work on feeling not insecure, to feel secure? Because I think that if we're insecure, we probably want to grow to feeling secure. We probably think that that is what's going to make us feel better. So to do that, I have to really look inside myself and where these ideas came from, and realize that I maybe didn't have the role models or see people in my life who stayed and who learned how to communicate in good ways that would keep a relationship going and afloat. So maybe that's your problem too. And maybe it's worth looking at, because I think as human beings, we all desire to have that divine connection, that reflection, because our relationships are a reflection of who we are, So if we want to continue to grow, we have to be willing to keep stepping up, and that means changing our old thought patterns sometimes if they're not working for us today, to change something else. So we looked at time links on why we might question that. We've looked at insecurity and limerence on why we might question, do they love me or love me not? We've talked about their actions and words aligning. So these are reasons and questions you might ask, do they love me or love me not? But when it comes down to it, do you love yourself? Because that is why we make the choices that we make. See, when we choose, say if I choose a person, and I know if I choose a person and I keep choosing them, the thing is a lot of times in relationships, we let other people navigate the relationship. So we want to blame them when the relationship goes wrong. But when we're choosing, we could choose, okay, well, this is what's going on. Maybe I don't like the way they said this, but I'm still going to choose that person. We make that conscious acknowledgement so that when things aren't going the way that we wanted. And this is the thing, is we think, oh, when I choose this person, I'm choosing unconditional love because this is something I don't like, but I've still chosen to choose this person. So that's unconditional love, and it is, but you must be willing to feel the pain and to grow from it afterwards and not become a victim of that pain if you choose and be conscious about that choice. Either way, we're going to experience pain, right? Whether we let them choose and navigate the terms of the relationship, or whether we choose and navigate, because that's what my life coach taught me after the loss of my son, 11 years ago, is that everyone is going to hurt us, whether it's intentional or not intentional. We're going to experience hurt. We can choose to grow from that hurt, or we can choose to restrict from that hurt, constrict ourselves and restrict ourselves. I choose to grow. What about you? Just like the flower. Although it's not going to grow now because, well, but we can cut ourselves off and set those boundaries with ourselves when we're talking to people and people are interested in us, but maybe they just got out of a relationship. We can say to them, you know what, this is very flattering. We don't have to, just be cruel to people, and because if we're cruel to them, that's because of our own unhealed stuff. You're like, I'm very flattered about this, but I've learned that it's just a disaster. When I get into a relationship with somebody who's just gotten out of a relationship, I've learned that it's just a disaster if I just get out of a relationship to go get in a relationship. Things can be disastrous, and there are things that are going to happen, and we're going to grow whether we want to or not. There's going to be things that happen, but if we can heal at least from the last one, give ourselves a break, give ourselves a time, then that will help a lot. I know when I got divorced the first time, my therapist told me, Stacy, don't date for a year. And it's just those little things that we do a day at a time, and it did help me to get clear not to date for a year. I'm not saying that, because I've certainly dated more people and been heartbroken, after that too. But I keep growing, and sharing what I learn with you. So I hope that this video has been part of being helpful there, that you're being able to look at the time length. And maybe the time lengths don't matter, but what's in you does. So to gauge yourself and not let somebody else navigate your relationship and be like, do they love me or love me not? Do you love you? So there's the time thing. There's also the navigation, like I was just talking about, but there's also the limerence, the healing part, to where we look back at CPTSD and do we become used to our parents splitting up and getting back together, splitting up and getting back together, and are we repeating a bunch of those things that's a learned behavior that was just part of our fragmented life, Because we all get fragmented to a degree, because life shows up on life's terms, and so I don't know of anybody who hasn't been affected by grief. Some people have been affected by codependency. Some people have been affected by addiction. If you or anyone you know need help in any of those areas, please feel free to reach out to me at the emails below. And I think I'm going to stop this video because I'm getting my words all jumbled because I think too fast sometimes. But I hope that this video has been helpful. I hope that you'll love yourself and not ask yourself those questions, do they love me? But do you love you? Maybe an exercise would be looking in the mirror each day saying, I am good enough and I am lovable. And look into your own eyes and say that. Don't expect somebody else to look into your eyes and tell you that unless you've done that to yourself. And to look at those time lengths, not be like a prison sentence when you're in prison, looking at that sentence, and also when you're in love, not looking at that sentence. Just taking each day a day at a time, And words and actions need to match. Sometimes words and actions just don't match, and that's not love if it's not your idea of what love is. Because sometimes people learn they can say the right things, but do they do? Do they also do what they say they're going to do? So if any indication, all of this is stuff that helps you love you, because when you're able to cut people off that aren't measuring up and aren't on your wavelength, you're the same frequency you're on. See, you're not loving yourself if you're not on the same frequency with someone else. Because probably you want a person who's going to do the things they say they're going to do, and their words will match with I love you. Okay? All right. Again, please feel free to comment. I love to see your comments and see that these videos are helpful. And I look forward to connecting with you again next week. If you have any ideas, again, feel free to reach out in the emails below. And if you choose to support this channel in any way, praying for this channel or sending good vibes or supporting this channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing, or there's a link to donate to this channel too, of course, because we all like to receive, and I hope that you're giving too. So again, thank you. I wish you much love and peace. Bye.